All right, so the first couple things that I need to talk about are housekeeping notes. I am recording this on that camera right there. If you don't want to be on camera, you can adjust your seating and I'll have to tell that one that please access the camera to track one of the reasons that this is on camera is that you can spread it out with the disclaimer, and this way I don't have to have you all sign it. I am going to do everything within my power to make sure nobody gets hurt. But we are going to be doing physical activity. We are going to be doing martial arts a little bit later. Accidents happen. I'm going to do my best to avoid them. But if you don't want to get hurt, you have the opportunity to be hurt. That's just kind of the way that has to go. I also like to take a few moments to thank our esteemed guests, Devin, who volunteered graciously when I presented to Christian and I would like to show up and what you do when the seat in the front for me, and you have something very well. All right, first thing I have to say is thank you for coming. And thank you for doing your part against violence against women. This is something, no matter which side of the political fence you're on, some of the things you hear today are going to be different than what you hear in your political circle. This is one of the things that some people don't like to hear. The Department of Technology and Military Studies program at the University of Military Canada did, I think, like a 5-year study on the effects of different kinds of methods to reduce violence against women. The most effective was women's self-defense classes. Was pretty dramatically the most effective, which is something that a lot of people don't like to hear. One does that to the other. But why is it so effective? Well, this is something that was completed last year, so they have to have a lot of opportunity to really do analysis on why. But I kind of give two analyses as to why I think it's most effective. The first analogy is a real-world, actually happened analogy. The TSA, you know, when you want to go on an airplane flight, they have that thing, you've got to stand in line, you've got to contact the solution, you've got to coordinate a thing that would change colors, and you're trying to long plane and send you away. So they have economy mode. And the reason they have economy mode is because they have to stand in the line and they have to coordinate a little bit of the thing, and if it changes colors, they're going to get caught. So, one of the things that they found in this study is that women's self-defense classes that start like this one, where we talk about the things where, you know, the dangers, the actual dangers you're going to encounter, reduce incidents dramatically. The ones that don't. And so, in my opinion, that's one of the first things that pops in mind why these are so effective is when you walk out here, if you didn't know what was going to be dangerous for the world, you will. And you won't do that. You'll be better prepared to deal with it if you do end up with it. The other analogy that I give as to is the reason why I think it works goes hand in hand and walks together, the two of them work together. The second most effective method was to inform men about being respectful of women, and then to tell men to hold each other accountable. And this is the second most effective. The women's self-defense classes would reduce incidents by 20%. out great ideas. The first one says, we're going to start a comprehensive campaign to educate everybody about why assassination is bad. And the other one says, we're going to hire more Secret Service agents. Which one are we going to fire? I mean, this is a no contest. The guy that's the one who says, let's educate everybody. You're going to go, yeah, that'll help. But not enough. Nobody is confused. Nobody, when women are attacked, the people that are attacking them, the men that are attacking them, I'll come back to that point. They're not confused. They're not standing there going, what is the right thing to do with us? They know. They're not stupid. But if they know, then they also know that you're going to be able to defend yourself. And they also know that there's a number in the population who will be able to defend themselves. They're going to be less likely to do it, and you're going to be better prepared when it does happen anyway. All right, Scott? So, go ahead. I don't know that slide anyway. I start out, I went over this just briefly. I start out these by talking, and then we go on to the application. The first thing we do is we talk about the real dangers. Go ahead and slide. The reason we do a women's self-defense class, my regular Kung Fu classes are a great idea, and I highly recommend you all join them. But they are unfortunately geared more towards the real life dangers that a man will be more likely to encounter. And I'll come back to that point. The dangers that are present to you are different than the dangers that are most likely and most present for me. And the other reason that I do a women's self-defense class is just because Kung Fu is more physical, more aggressive, it's more fun for men, for most men. There's fewer women that are interested in spending 4 hours a week throwing each other around, hitting each other. Not that I enjoy hitting people. Do I enjoy hitting people? Yeah. Slide. I'm not here to scare you. If I were to say there's a couple things that you should take away from this. One of them is that you are not in as much danger as women as some people would have you believe. The dangers that I face versus the dangers you face are hugely substantial. Hugely differently substantial. Go ahead and slide. Most of the women that come to these things in the past have come because, have been young women who have come because their dad or their uncle or their cousin or their best friend's dad doesn't want them to go off to college or go to a movie on their own or be out late at night unless they know how to defend themselves. Go ahead and slide. Teaching you to protect yourself as if the whole world is out to get you isn't going to help you. It isn't going to help me. It doesn't make you safer. It doesn't make me safer. Teaching you to be aware of the real dangers really helps. There's an anecdote. When the first women's self-defense class I was ever a helper in was when I was in high school, and all I did was help set up chairs. The guy didn't know that I knew any martial arts. I didn't even know that much at that point, really. But as I was setting up, he told me that he and his master, his grandmaster, actually disagreed about whether or not you should have women's self-defense classes. And the reason the grandmaster didn't want to have women's self-defense classes is because the grandmaster had opened up the school, had accepted women into the school, and then had a number of them, a noticeable number of them,
get involved in altercations that could have been easily avoided. And the master said, all women do when they learn how to defend themselves is get into trouble. The teacher said, I can fix this. I will just stand up at the beginning of the class and say, don't be stupid. You'd think it'd be that simple. Over the years, I started looking into it. Shortly after that, I found out, some of the stuff I'm going to go over. Sometimes don't be stupid doesn't mean what you think it means. But realistically, if we started there, if I had a women's self-defense class and all I did is stand here, say, don't be stupid, and have everybody believe me, and then say, now you're safer, and have everybody believe me, you would actually be safer. Go to the slide. One of the things that comes up a lot in women's self-defense classes is that what we're trying to avoid is rape. Don't get me wrong, I would hate for anybody here to be raped. I would hate for anybody to be raped. But there's so much more that happens. And really, rape is just a small sliver. I watch a YouTube channel occasionally. It's really funny if you're a martial artist. It's called Enter the Dojo. If you ever watch it, you can go home and look it up. Everything Master Ken says is wrong from day one. And one of the things that he does is, one of his videos is the rape class. And it's supposed to be a women's self-defense class. And all it talks about is rape. And it just shows me how on top of it, the primary actor and the primary writer are on this show, that they are able to recognize that this is so wrong. Realistically, the most common thing to be experienced by women when it comes to violence is domestic violence. And that is probably one of the more astounding things to me, is that the most common thing is for the one who is supposed to be in charge of helping you be protected, supposed to be in charge of helping you feel secure, is most commonly the one to attack you. And that just blows my mind. Which brings me right into the second myth. You're more likely to be attacked by somebody you know, and the better you know them, the more likely you are to be attacked by them. You're more likely to be attacked by your husband than by his best friend. You're more likely to be attacked by his best friend than you are by the casual acquaintance at the party. More likely to be attacked by the casual acquaintance you've met at several parties than you are to be attacked by somebody on the street. And this is actually one of the big differences between the dangers that women face and the dangers that men face. I talked about Kung Fu classes being geared more for the dangers that we will face than the dangers that you will face. I am far and away more likely to be attacked by a stranger. Like 70% of the attacks on men are attacks by strangers. So if I were to have a men's self-defense class, it'd be a 10-year-long class, and the first thing we do is I ditch you.
That's getting a little fast.
But for you guys to know how to protect yourself when you're going to be hit is only so helpful if you're not going to defend yourself against the right person. Because if you go home to violence, if you go home with your husband's best friend or your best friend's husband, is going to be violence. This is something you don't walk into a class like this thinking this is the person I'm going to defend myself against. You walk into this class thinking, a lot of people walk into this class thinking, I'm going to get jumped in the bushes at the park at midnight. Many women are safer in the park at midnight than they are at home. Go figure, right? One of the biggest things that I believe, there's not a lot of statistics to really back this up yet, but there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to really say this is the reality. We need to remember that violence against women is not one set of people's problem. It's not women's problem. We don't need, we need more women in women's self-defense classes, but we don't just need more women in women's self-defense classes. We need men to get involved too. There are police laws on the books that actually prevent police officers from protecting you. In some places. It's actually getting better around here. But 5 years ago, Portland, Seattle, the I-5 corridor between Portland and Seattle was the place to go shopping for women and children. It still is, but far less. And yeah, the reason is if you pick somebody up in Portland, you can head down I-5 to Mexico and sell them there, or up I-5 to Canada. And if you've got a passport for Canada, you've automatically got a passport for everything in the old British Kingdom. England, Ireland, Australia, and you can sell them there. India. And so that's the reality. We live in the hotbed. Even though I say many women are safer in the park at midnight than they are at home, we are in the place where it is, attacker jumping out of the bushes, capital of the world. And that's an unfortunate reality for us here. And yet still, even here, you're less safe at home. Many women are less safe at home than they are walking around the streets at midnight. Next slide. Another thing is we talk about the women who ask for it. We talk about the women who dress a certain way or act a certain way. This is another case where the statistical evidence is hard to analyze, but when they interview rapists and mothers who target women and people who are domestically violent, the thing that never comes up is what she was wearing. I, at one point, spent a lot of time reading through interviews with convicted rapists. And I found it fascinating that after reading a set of 6, there was only one that even mentioned looking at what a woman was wearing. I may come back to this point. The only thing he cared about was whether or not she wore shoes she could run in, because he wasn't very fast. That's all. But one of the things that doesn't happen because of the asking for it problem is women don't speak up a lot of times. They're afraid that if you go to the police department, the thing that they're going to say is, were you dressed like that when you got attacked?
Do they actually ask that?
They're not supposed to. I will come back to this point, but police officers are people too. They're not supposed to ask that. More and more police departments have policies against it. But
Hi, I know I'm late.
Come on are sometimes misinformed people, and misinformed people sometimes ask stupid questions. All right, slide. One of the things that sometimes comes up when I bring up the speak up is some women have difficulty speaking up and staying respectful. I don't think this is as big a problem as some people do, but I would like to throw it in. When you speak up, be respectful. When you have to report, you may get that police officer that says, "Would you just like that?" and respectfully say, "Yes," and then go about it. Don't back down, but don't get in his face. He's got a job to do too. And you know what? He may have just had the worst day of his life. Being a police officer, he may have just been shot in the last couple hours. He may be under a lot of stress. He may be taking it out on you. That's unfortunate, and I'm sorry. That doesn't make him not human. But if you get attacked, one of the things to do is get a lawyer. Like I said, there will be laws on the books in some places that will make it more difficult for the prosecution to help you. In extreme cases, there have even been incidences where a police officer was best able to pursue a promotion or a better performance review by getting some kind of conviction here, as opposed to making sure the most dangerous person was taken off the street. And if you were lawyering when you were attacked, it might be easier to get you on a loitering charge than to get your attacker on an attacking charge. Don't trust the police. Get a lawyer. Do everything your lawyer says. If your lawyer says, don't speak, don't speak. If your lawyer says, spill your guts, spill your guts. Your lawyer that you hire will be there for you. The police officers will be there for the community. Unfortunately, sometimes there's a conflict of interest between the community and you, and you need to have somebody there who will make sure you are taken care of. Slide. Zombie apocalypse. This is one of my favorite analogies. Has anybody ever met a guy that was into the whole prepare for the zombie apocalypse thing? Show of hands. The first time I met one of these guys, I was working at my first full-time job, and I was working in Beaverton and commuting from here, and I had a friend that said, "Hey, you can crash on my couch tonight." And I went and met his roommate, and, you know, we're shaking hands at the door, and he showed me his gun collection. He had like 22 guns! And ranging from, you know, the big one you keep by the door in case the zombies are breaking down the door, and all the way down to the little pistol. I think 1 or 2 of them were even legal. And he's like, "What the heck is this?" And I got to talking to him, you know, as talking to him as a martial artist, and I was like, why all this, you know? And the reality is, these zombie apocalypse guys, they're really preparing for, on some level, some instinctual level, they're preparing for the dangers we men face. Like I said, we're going to be attacked by a stranger. We're going to have that cop turn around and start chasing us with his billy club because we look funny. We're going to be hanging out at the bar and somebody's going to bump into us and pick a fight because they didn't mean to bump into us. And, well, you can't admit you made mistakes, you know, it's fun. These are the dangers I face. The dangers you face are a little different. And if I were to pick a movie monster for women to really focus on and say, this is how we're going to define our dangers, it'd be a vampire. And I'll even throw in the sparkly vampires too. Yeah, because Edward was so, I hate this word, but he was so rapey. He was. Don't talk to anybody. Don't tell anybody what we're doing. Help me hide, help me hide. How dare you talk to your friends? How dare you have friends other than me? This is the kind of person you should avoid a lot. I have all these secrets. Run! Oh my word! And I have these conversations with women sometimes, and they're like, oh, he's so great, he's dark and broody, just like I always want. And I'm like, run. Run far, run fast. It's horrible, and the worst part of it is, as a culture, we romanticize the vampire. You know, they are the quintessential vampire story was Dracula, and Dracula was not romanticized. In Bram Stoker's Dracula, but in all of the movies since '85, he has been.
Sexy.
He's been sexy. Well, vampires are always sexy. He was sexy in the novel, but he was bad sexy. Right. In all the movies since the '80s, the vampire has been sexy and good. And good sexy. And the girl, even if she's the victim of the vampire, she's supposed to be in love with him because he is so whatever. You know, manly, dark and brooding, fixable, not fixable, whatever the thing that the author of the book or the producer of the movie is trying to convince all the young women to fall for. I always wonder how many of those producers of those movies are what they're trying to present their vampire as. Just throw it out. Next. Coming into some facts to prepare yourself. One of the first things, I touched on it briefly, what you wear is not a relevant issue to safety. I would like to come back to, when I say this, I am speaking as your self-defense instructor, not as your pastor, not as your HR department. I'm talking about whether or not you're safer in a short skirt and a low-cut top. And you are neither safer nor less safe in a short skirt or a low-cut top. That doesn't mean you're not going to get fired for wearing it to work. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be something your pastor and the elders in your church are going to have a problem with. It's just to say that as your self-defense instructor, I can't make this call one way or the other because it's not relevant to your self-defense. In some ways, it can be if you get attacked, because some of the clothing that is sold to women is not easy to move in. And one of the things that I do that's different than some other self-defense classes is I do not teach you to kick. And the reason is, no, not that. No. You might find yourself in a situation where you're out in a skirt or a dress, and you may hesitate to kick. So I don't want to focus on kicking if you may wear things that are going to stop you from kicking. I want to focus on the things that you can do and will do, which will come up again later. But the primary tool of the abusive person is isolation. Coming off the slide a little bit, for me, it is the telling point whether or not a relationship is abusive. If somebody is being isolated, they're probably in an abusive relationship. If somebody is not able to talk about their own life at all because it might upset their partner, this might be an abusive relationship. The same thing goes for the more classical ideas of even rape. You know, the person who's going to, you know, if you find yourself at a frat party, the person who's going to attack you at the frat party is going to say, hey, let's get away from the crowd, hey, let's go upstairs, hey, let's get into this broom closet, you know, they're going to try to isolate you. Isolation is the thing to avoid. I would say I would take isolation as a better example than bruises even. I knew one couple, as a self-defense kind of person. I've met a lot of people that have been into a lot of different kinds of things. And I knew one couple that when they would fight, they'd get sticks. And they'd hit each other. And the woman at one point sent her husband in with a concussion. The husband once sent her in with a broken rib. And when I first heard this, I thought this was mutually abusive. This is no good. You two need to find other people. But they talked to me and said they thought that at first too, but realized this is who they were. They needed to express their anger violently. And for them to be with other people, they would be abusive if they were with other people. But since they can do it with each other and talk about it with everybody, they're okay. And they all know they're all okay. And so, like I say, I take isolation over bruises as proof. And, on the other extreme, I've known some people that seem A-okay, never a bruise, but one of the partners couldn't leave home hardly at all. And by the time people figured out what was going on, this person was completely wrecked. Could barely hold themselves together because they were being torn down systematically, verbally, sometimes even physically, but not enough to leave bruises. But your best option is to resist. The first line of defense is you. We've all heard if they take you to the second location, your chances of survival go from 90% to 10%, and these are real statistics. The numbers are not always necessarily 90 and 10. Different places will put your numbers in different places, but it is always, you go from being relatively safe to very, very unsafe as soon as you are being taken away. As soon as you give up, you are not safe anymore. But this comes back to what I was talking about, one of the differences. You guys don't really have to be a Kung Fu master. Most of the people who are going through, most of the men that are going to attack women are really attacking women because they're not, to use this phrase in a very odd kind of way, they're not man enough to attack a man. They're looking for a soft target. They're looking for someone they can hate. If you're not the softest target, you're not going to be taken. And if somebody comes up to grab you and you push away, you're not the softest target anymore. And if it's not a target soft enough for them to feel like they can take them, they're not going to attack somebody. And that's why I think we need more women's self-defense classes. Get rid of the soft targets. But this is something that comes from both sides of the political spectrum. On the one side, you do have the conservative who says women need to stay at home and not go anywhere because it's all going to be dangerous. And if they're going to go anywhere, be aware of everything, know how every bush is moving. On the liberal side, you have the women saying, well, you can't expect women to be aware because then they can't live their life. Be aware, but don't stop living. And one of the things you're going to hear at almost every self-defense class is pay attention when those little hairs on the back of your hair, your neck stick up. I'm not as convinced of this as some people. I think that there's a lot of historical rewriting that happens in the way we process our memories. But at least happens sometimes. And I'd rather hear the story of and you suddenly felt like you were cold and in danger, and went and huddled with your friends and started having a conversation with people close at hand, and realized that you felt that way because there was a black cat in the window, then hear the story about how you felt that, and didn't respond, and then got attacked. This one is very much my opinion, but it's an opinion that I feel is upheld by a lot of anecdotal evidence. Stranger danger is a concept that was started in the 70s. We're going to teach particularly children, but they also teach it to women. Don't talk to strangers. Don't talk to people you don't know. In my opinion, this is dangerous, possibly even deadly. There are a number of stories, a large number of stories, about children who've gotten lost in the woods and avoided the rescue teams looking for them because they're strangers. There are stories of women, I would be surprised if there are not 3 people in this room who have personally heard a story of a friend or a friend of a friend who was in an abusive relationship at home and couldn't talk to anybody because they felt like their friends were on the abuser's side and everyone else was a stranger. But if you're looking for help, sometimes you're best to pick your strangers. So if you're going to pick a stranger, I'm going to give you some clues to help pick the safest stranger. There's more helpful strangers than there are unhelpful strangers. So you're better off to approach somebody who completely is not on this list than to not approach somebody. But in a case where you have opportunities to select, your first thing to look for is somebody with a name tag or somebody who presumably could have a name tag. A bartender, a police officer, a fireman, a clothing clerk, mall security, somebody that you, if I told you their name, their position, and asked you, do they have a name tag or not, you'd either mark yes or mark I don't know. Not somebody you would mark as no. So, movie theater, popcorn girl. Your second choice is going to be to find a woman. The reality is that a woman is going to be more likely to help than a man. And a man with a woman is going to be more likely to help than a man alone. There's some things to actually back that up, but for now I just present it as a reality. And then the last choice, if you have 2 women police officers standing right over there, go for the one that's older, the one that looks older. Older people are more likely to help, and they're more likely to know what to do to help. If you go up to that 22-year-old strapping young woman who just got her badge yesterday, whereas if you go to that 35-year-old veteran who's using a cane to get around the streets, he's going to go, oh, this is easy stuff. He's going to know these things. Millions people. Click. You know statistics back that one up? For the stranger danger? Many of the attacks on women are planned in advance. Now, if you think about the first thing I said, rape is not the most common thing to happen. Abuse is. Domestic violence is. Already, that starts to make sense. Your domestically violent partner isn't as likely to be going, wow, you're wearing a short skirt, I never saw that before. He's more likely to be brooding at home all day or brooding at work all day, and then come in with a plan to hurt you. But even with the more typical rape scenario, the frat party as an example, the guy doesn't go to the frat party and then decide to try and pick up a woman and attack her. He goes to this frat party to find a woman to attack. But now we'll talk a little bit about weapons. My wife sells weapons. And if she were a little more serious about it, she would hate the next thing I'm going to say. But we're not. We do this because we think that if you help someone, if carrying a weapon will help you feel safer, carry a weapon. If it will help you stand up and look people in the eye, because now you know that if you are attacked, you can defend yourself, carry it. It's valuable for that. I give it another 1% bump to say it really will help you protect yourself in the rare event that you do find yourself attacked. But the fact that you're looking up, that you're not looking like that soft target that we were talking about before, is already going to do more good than the weapon itself. It's going to prevent the attack that you would have to protect yourself from. Yes, the confident walk, the eyes up, whatever. If you can't bring yourself to that walk, then by all means, load up. Because I kind of want to change the dynamic on somebody who thinks that you're that soft target and you lay weight to him. So yeah, if you're not one of those people that can bring yourself, because some of us can't. I found out a year ago that I have a niacin deficiency, and when my niacin levels are low, green or low, and the people that are ready to attack come out of woodwork. When I take my niacin, I'm up here and I'm like, gosh, I'm not, but yeah, it's not always, it's not your fault if you can't bring yourself to bring your eyes up and look at everybody. And like I said, if you just have difficulty with that, load up. When you're going to defend yourself, there are 3 things that are going to be your goals. And the first one is going to be to avoid, the next one is going to be to evade, the next one will be to escape, and finally, to report. Avoid doesn't mean stop living your life, like we said before. Avoid means be aware. Know who's out there. Look for the vampires in the room. Look for the guy who's trying to pull you off to your own little corner. Let's go in the kitchen because I want to have a more personal conversation, or upstairs, or in the backyard. There's a difference between the guy who says, here, let me take you in the backyard so we can have more intimate time, which is kind of vampire-y, versus the guy that says, oh, you just found out your tire is flat, well, heck, I'll give you a ride home. Don't turn down help because you might be alone with a stranger. Look for the stranger who's trying to get you to turn down help. But evade is one of the more difficult ones, which is why we have the next part. Once you know who the vampires in the room are, it's best to not be in the same part of the party with them. Best to not be in the relationship with them. Don't date Edward. I
can't do that often enough.
And when you know somebody is acting vampire, get yourself closest to the ability to call cops you can, even if they're not after you, because they may be after the soft target that's over there. And the best thing you may be able to do at that point is to make sure you can prepare for when the soft target is attacked. But escape is what we're going to spend the rest of the time on when we get past here. But again, coming back to the second location rule, the longer you are under the control of your attacker, the more danger you're in, and the worse the outcome is likely to be. The attacker who's only going to put 5 minutes into attacking you is probably less likely to kill you than the one that is going to take you off to a hideaway for 4.5 months. This is just the reality of how these things play out. Once you have identified your attacker and you can't get away, and you can't avoid being with them, then you need to get away. I actually have a great example from fiction. Has anybody ever watched the old Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show? I was a big fan. There was a spin-off called Angel. Anybody watch that one? The pilot episode, Cordelia Chase grew up in the Hellmouth. She knows all about vampires, right? And she's walking around this mansion with this really rich guy that she just met at a party, and she's looking around and she goes, "This is a fantastic mansion that has high ceilings and lots of curtains and can be sealed off easily and no mirrors. You're a vampire!" And the guy goes, "No, I'm not." And she goes, "I'm from Sunnydale. We have our own Hellmouth. I know a vampire when I see one." And he goes, "Well, now that you know, I'm just going to drop the pretense and attack you." And she's like, wait, I didn't get this all the way through. And then she starts running away, which is probably the wrong thing. She should have run away before saying, "You're a vampire." But this is my last slide. Report. If you've been attacked, if you know somebody who's been attacked, report it to the police. Tell everybody. Because the attacker is going to be less likely to continue to attack if continuing to attack means they're going to be reported. And they're going to be less likely to continue to attack than behind jail bars. But even if they don't go all the way to being prosecuted, they're going to be less likely to attack again. You know, even if they clear the system, they're going to be less likely to attack again because they don't want to get caught again. Like I said, my TSA example. You know, once they know there's a chance that they're going to get caught, they're going to stop doing it. Also, their friend and their son are going to be less likely to do it. Once they know, they're going to be reported. So now we start the fun part. Let's get the chairs out of the way, and we'll bring some mats out. Just to get the ball. Let's pull the mat all the way out. All the mats? Yeah, all the mats. All three. On the floor. And then back over there. Christy and Devin are here to help. Like I said, I've got the camera going, so if you don't want to be on the camera, there's a mat back there. I'm going to have Devin start back there. If you don't care about being on the camera, we'll mix it up a little bit. Did I just hear the door again? I thought I was Okay. I was gonna say, if there's one more person, we'll wait for that. All right. So, Christian, with your big intelligence stuff. Another one of the differences between the attacks that happen to women and the attacks that happen to men, I'm more likely to be punched, you're more likely to be grabbed. And so the stuff that I'm going to teach you comes out of the Kung Fu Chin-Off curriculum, which is our joint locking and grabbing breaking. So I like to start with the principles of when you're attacked, of what to do, as opposed to focusing on a very specific technique. The reason is, you guys are just here tonight, you're probably not coming back to my Kung Fu class, which makes me sad. But it makes me happy to know that in that event that you do get attacked next year or the year after, you're not going to get grabbed, and go, oh, what was that technique? Oh, darn! You're going to get attacked, and you're going to go, I remember, we talked about circles. I'm going to make big circles. And that's the first thing. I call it simple circles, because I love alliteration. When you get grabbed, make circles. Arms, body, everything. Big circles. Flail about. And when you get attacked, circle. There you go. And it doesn't have to be overthought. If he takes your wrist, circle. If he comes up behind you, circle.
That's a little harder. Okay.
It's a little harder. Go ahead. Sometimes it's a little harder to think about. So it's just a big circle. Turn to face them until you are away, and get away. Once you can run away, run away. Because like I said, the longer you're engaged in that fight, the longer you're engaged with that person, the more likely bad things will happen. Even if you got this. If this is a guy that he grabs a hold of you and you realize that you've got more fighting skill than he does, the longer you go, the more likely he can get lucky and get a good shot at it. So, everybody grab a partner. We've got Christian and Devin to help be attackers. If you end up with another woman, take turns grabbing each other, and we'll rotate among people. And I'm here too, and I'm going to be partners too. Come on.
I can't back here, but I want to be on the
Yeah, big spot. And once you've got your partner, just think about different places, put your hand on your partner. If you've got Christian or Devin as a partner, Christian or Devin will just find different places to grab and just think circles. Think about from here, where does that circle go? If you find a place where they can get a hold of you and you're not sure, ask me and I'll come help bring it out. But start out, and I'm going to rotate because I want to try and get with as many people as possible with this too.
There you go. Don't worry, you're here to get hurt.
Okay.
Right, Christian? I'm not.
Christian knows about this one. Put my arm up there. There you go. How many of you have seen this in a police procedural or whatever, right? How many of you have ever been in this position?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is one of the weirdest things to me, and I used to be this way back when I was a little tiny sort of guy. There must be an instinct about this being the ultimate you are trapped, because everybody thinks you're trapped here. And this is actually really, really easy to escape from. That simple. And somehow we don't. So, that's going to be the next one I want you to work on, just because it counters everything we do instinctually. We are, somewhere in our evolution, we evolved to think that is our ultimate trap, and once you have your hand behind your back, you're trapped. But you're not. Your attacker is actually very vulnerable at that point.
Did you go up with the elbow? Or
Yeah, again, I'll do it slowly, because it doesn't matter. Rotate away from the shoulder that is the locked arm. If I rotate this way, I just slide right out of him. It doesn't matter how he's got it. And even if I don't slide out of him, I've got rotation almost to the point where I can face him before he starts to slide out. And since you're such good friends with him, that elbow and his cheek have been begging to beat each other all night.
Yes.
So yeah, get back to your partner and just pin that behind me. But you recover quickly. And that's the point. Is once you know what you can do, you'll do it.
First thing I was always taught, and then you probably heard this, these will probably stop right there.
All right. I was simple and fun. She was agreeing on something I was going to wait a little bit longer, but she just brought it up, and now it's fresh in my mind. One of the other subcategories of chin-off is what's called concussive chin-off. So if he grabs me, and he's got a really tight grip here, and I pull, and it won't pull, and I push, and it won't push, and he's big and strong enough, and I can't rotate out. And then he'll relax right away. And if you've got my hand up, pinned up in there, and for some reason this side, you know, I injured my elbow playing tennis yesterday, and I don't want to try and hit him with that elbow, and you know, I'm just not sure I can get that in. I can always find a toe, a knee, a groin. Hitting is always an option, and this is one of the things that a lot of women are really raised, you know, a good lady does not hit. And I will agree that in most of the life, a lady is not going to be hitting somebody. But when you're defending yourself, you're not a lady anymore, you're a victim. And victims hit. Victims hit a lot. And so I don't like to spend a lot of time on this, but get with a partner and practice the song, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I haven't finished that in yet. It's going to take me a while to get my home, so I don't have time for it. But come on back. This song is a children's song, but I swear it was written by a self-defense instructor. Because the targets you're going to want to go for are the head, the shoulders, the knees, and the toes. Usually, your attacker will be a man who will be more muscular than you. If you try and go for the trunk, you may just find yourself bouncing off muscles and very dense bones. The difference in musculature between men and women is such that those are going to be places he's ready to be hit by you. But if you go for the head or the shoulders, there's a lot of softness there. There's not a lot of muscle. If you go for the knees, it's a joint, and it's only supposed to bend one way. If you bend it in other, they don't run so fast anymore. And toes are just fun to stomp on. And if you lose track of the head, shoulders, knees, and toes, there's also the eyes, the ears, the mouth, and the nose. So, again, get with your partner. I don't want anybody to actually hurt each other, but just run through the song. Just tap somebody on the head, the shoulders, gently tap the knees, the toes, get where you can touch their eyes, so that you'll remember if you get into that situation, you do need to be aggressive. I'm not scary. I haven't heard anything on that in the
Yeah.
go to the I really, we're just getting into the fun part where we hit each other. All right. So I have one more that's a very specific. I have one more that's a very specific kind of technique. And this one, can you say?
Me?
Yes.
Sure.
No, your friend Lillard. Can you say?
Yeah.
I'm going to need you. If they have you choked in some way, your first priority is to secure your airway. And it is actually fairly simple. Just get your fingers up in there and make sure you can breathe. And the reason for this should be really stupidly obvious. It does not take you very long with no oxygen to pass out. And you can't defend yourself nearly as well when you're passed out. So once you've got your airway secured, your next thing is none of the things that I've talked about so far really work. You can't really circle very well without losing control of your airway. You can't reach that head very well. You might be able to reach the knee if you think about it really, really hard, or the toes if you think about it really hard. But if you're wearing steel-toe boots, you may be in trouble. So from here, even if you secure your airway with the wrong hand, it's okay. Secure your airway first. Get it so that the opposite hand can get a hold of that shoulder, and you will be amazed. You can lift them right up. Keep their weight above the center of gravity, And you can walk around with somebody who is quite heavy on your back, believe it or not.
I do it with Tom.
Yes, you can do it with me, I can do it with her. You can, of course, take this all the way to the extreme if you can build up enough momentum to throw them. But you don't have to. At that point where they are suspended above you, you are in control. And all they can do is let go or go where you want them to go. And if you want to go to the police department and say, delivery, that's what them. May I borrow you? You're going to lift me. I'm going to show that even somebody little and teeny and tiny like you can lift me. All right. All right. So I got you here. First thing, like I said, secure your airway.
I was listening.
Put a hand up under my elbow.
Right here, like
There you go. So you can breathe. There you go. Then you're going to want to switch hands after that. So put the other hand in.
this?
Yep. And then pull that hand out. Reach out and grab my shoulder. You're going to want to keep my weight above your hips and just lean forward.
Oh,
There you go. And you'll be surprised that I just... Thank you.
So actually, it's probably going to be making a more leverage.
As I get taller, it actually gets harder to do.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I've got to get those feet all the way off the ground.
Oh, that's true, okay.
So
I was thinking more of
the height makes more of a difference than the weight, actually, because you're lifting them with your legs. All you're doing back here is balance.
But on the other side, even being on your, even having to be on their toes a little bit is.
Yeah, if they're on your toes a little bit, you can walk over the elbow.
But I understand,
Yeah, and then you're getting attacked like
are you going to have another spring pool or something?
no, most of them don't.
Start trailing?
Yeah, most of them give up, and that's because, like I said, we'll get to the spot where it's like that. Once you show you can fight back, you're gonna give up a lot of the time. Most of the time.
I want to try that.
Yes.
Now, we have these information, this is, I mean, just because of your dog, you can raise your arm.
I've been doing it for 20 years. You okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm okay.
Coming out of the week, look up the message on your phone, kind of complicated thing. Right?
Yeah, that would work.
If they are taller than me, would it make it better for me on the knees, or do I
The-
make them walk?
You want to be as tall as you can, because your goal is to get them off the ground.
Okay, so you don't come down, you stay.
You stay up. You know, if teeny tiny girl came back and she were to try to choke me, all I have to do is secure my airway and stand all the way up, and she'd be off the ground.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand, okay.
So if you get attacked like a basketball player, you're actually, and you get this one, you're in a worse position than if you get attacked like an average sized person. And I wish I could say that we were fortunate that basketball players don't normally attack people, it's not.
I know.
But, tell everybody.
I don't know, you give instructions and the reasoning why.
Yeah.
Just do this.
There you go. He's here to get hurt. It doesn't do. They ask me, they beg me, let people hurt me.
She wants to try to throw you.
No, he weighs less than you do.
Because last time we checked, you were.
There you go.
He totally weighs less than you do.
And like I said, you know, if you get that momentum and you can further, if you guys were coming to a regular Kung Fu class or a regular self-defense class, we'd be working on that on a regular basis, and you would be throwing your partner on the ground. But since this is probably the last time that you're going to see in that video, I want you to remember that even if you can't throw them, you can get them off the ground and you can walk with them. And it's not that hard. It's a little more difficult to get all the momentum to throw them over. And that's one of the other things that I try to really bring to these is self-defense doesn't have to be a series of very particular techniques. It doesn't have to be the chin-on that I teach that is, get this bone, lock it there, and now you've got control of it. It can be if you've got the 20 years to set aside, 2 days a week to set aside for 20 years to learn it. I'll gladly bring it in and we'll work on all that. But I'd rather have all of you come in to one class and actually attend that class, actually be attentive, actually learn, A, you can live your life, and you can look the potential attacker in the eye and back them down. And B, if you don't, if they do get attacked, you can defend yourself with very simple concepts that you can learn one time today and remember forever. You don't have to remember the particular bone you're going for. You don't have to remember the particular spot. All you have to remember, the only thing I've given you to remember is a kid song.
Very, very good.
The other thing that I want to throw out there, the first rule of the St. Helens Kung Fu Club, Rule 1, I haven't actually printed out the rules yet, I'm planning to. Rule 1 is to treat everybody with love and respect wherever you go. But an implicit part of this one unbreakable rule is to know when it's time to break all the other rules. Sometimes, your best option is to wait. Rarely, your best option is to wait. And I wish I could give some really clear principles when the best time is to wait. Unfortunately, it falls under Rule 1. Rule 1 is knowing to break all the other rules. Sometimes there's going to be a situation where if you make a scene, you're just going to make things worse. Particularly in my experience, this happens when the victim is not you. Many police departments have started moving to a model where if they get a phone call for domestic violence, somebody goes to jail tonight. The reason they did that is they got done with getting called on a domestic violence call, coming in, having everybody say, it's fine, nothing going on here, and later that night somebody gets killed. There are the occasional time when that person who doesn't want to get caught, the only way they can not get caught is to make things worse, even to the point of escalating to murder. Always remember Rule 1. And I tell all of my students, when you master Rule 1, you master life. I'm also going to take a minute to plug that Damsel in Defense sells a lot more than weapons. And they sell excellent products. I carry
one of these. I carried one of their stun guns for a while, and then they changed their policies in my work, and I can't take a stun gun to work anymore. I carry this. I've had this for a year and a half? 2 years. 2 years, because I got it for my birthday. And my birthday is later this month, which is going to be more housekeeping stuff I forgot to do at the beginning of class. But these make excellent self-defense tools. And one of the things I love about it, when it's not being used for a self-defense tool, my keys are right there on the button. They slide right off. They slide right back in.
And what is that?
Yeah, what is it?
So,
You, absolutely. Sales girl sales.
So this is my pocket tuning, I'm gonna pass them around,
right,
but it is a poking and striking tool. You've probably all heard the saying where they say, you know, if you're walking at night, put your keys between your fingers,
Yeah.
right? So the problem with that, if you do that and hit somebody, you're going to get hurt. I mean, it hurts my hand just holding that. That's really simple. These are designed to be held in your hand. I've heard them called fist blows. But yeah, it increases your punching strength. It's got a nice pointy end. If you rub that gently on yourself somewhere, please gently. I bruise myself regularly doing events. I say, oh, here, just do it like this, and then I come home purple all over.
really?
Yeah, because it's anywhere, so if somebody grabs you and you start jabbing them with that, because you're in a panic, because let's face it, like Sean said, if you're willing to put in 2 hours a week for 20 years and, you know, develop that muscle memory, great, do it. But most of us are too much get grabbed and panic. But if you get grabbed and start flailing your keys around,
Sometimes.
your keys are instantly a flail weapon. If somebody grabs you and you start like, even if your arm is sitting at your side, if that's in your hand, you can jab a leg, and it hurts a lot.
What is it made of?
Aircraft aluminum. Aluminum. And I will say that those do not fly. You can check them, but you can't carry them on. I lost my phone in the summer. So,
Oh, really?
it's a
That looks like
thing.
Polaroid. I mean, were the rest of those?
That's constantly, they try to, they try so hard. But no. So, we're awesome supper. And tonight, all the bonus, anybody who orders tonight and is willing to pick up their product here, I'm paying for shipping. So, anything you could, if you want it shipped to your home, it's a little bit more, but if you want to come back here and pick it up, then hey.
Then I'm going to take a second after talking about those, talk about stun guns. On a second file, I like gadgets. I love stun guns. I wish I could say they were the bestest, safest thing for your protection. They're actually not. You have one that's live.
Once I give you the disabled pin. All of our stun guns have disabled pins, so without them, it's nothing. Put in the magic pin.
And that's just what I was going for. The stun gun makes a sound that everyone instantly recognizes. You hear that sound and you go on alert. If you find yourself walking through that dark alley at midnight and you think there might be somebody, pull out your stun gun flashlight and start shining it around. It's great. And then you do that zap on accident, and anybody who's thinking about attacking you is going to back off.
And this is nice and bright, so if I use it in the parking lot for income, because parking lots are dangerous and people are backing up and they don't see you, and, you know, I carry my flashlight when I'm out and about. But this can also be used to shine it in somebody's eyes, and they're not going to be able to see you to attack you. As Sean said, the warning shot, if you're out walking your dog, you know, if you're out taking your morning stroll, if you've got, you know, an aggressive dog's gonna do, that sound is enough that most people, most animals, most, you know, I'm sure even the leaves, you know, the trees get a little bit, and a little bit nervous and back off and drop a leaf or two. So, that's enough of a deterrent from most situations.
And then before I'm going to get into the fun part, I've got one more thing that I want to talk about. I want to talk about knives, guns, lethal weapons. My opinion on lethal weapons is they will not make you safer than the pepper spray we're going to talk about next, though. Unless it makes you feel safer, like I was talking about before. There are two conditions that I would really put on that. Number one, you have to be absolutely confident in your willingness and ability to use that lethal weapon in a self-defense situation lethally. And number two, which is kind of the big striking point for me against lethal weapons, you have to be absolutely confident in your ability to recognize a self-defense situation. I have another anecdote. This one is actually the same kind of thing has happened to me multiple times. I'm going to pick one particular story of the several times it has happened, just to kind of give you the clearest, most obvious example of why this might be. When I was in college, my first year in college, I rode the city bus to get to college and then back out to Sobeys Island where my car was waiting for me. It just so happened that there was a rather attractive young woman. This was a long time before I met my wife, so I was allowed to find women attractive back then.
You're still giving the look.
But anyway, there was a rather attractive young lady who happened to get off of one of the buses at about the same time I did often, and happened to wait at the same bus stop I did for the next bus. And I saw her and she saw me. She also had a diamond ring on her finger that was bigger than my knuckle. So I wasn't even going to approach that. But anyway, one day, she got off the bus, she was walking down, and she dropped her keys or something. I don't remember. It may have been a wallet. I think it was her keys. And I said, "Miss," and she didn't hear me, and I grabbed it, and I chased after her, "Miss," and I put my hand on her. If she'd have had a gun, I'd be dead. She turned around and was ready to attack me, and ready to use lethal force if necessary. And I, being a black belt in Kung Fu at that point, backed up, and she missed, and I went, "You got the keys." And she took them back and said thank you and apologized. And I said, "No worries, I get it." But if you don't know, this is kind of my thing, is I couldn't carry a gun as a self-defense because I would have to be very certain that I was in a self-defense danger situation before I could use a gun or a knife. If I accidentally stab somebody in the gut with this, worst case scenario, if I hit the right spot, they're going to go to a hospital with a really bad internal bruising. And they may be out of work for a day or two. And that's going to be it. And I go, "Oops, my bad." I don't want to be at their gravesite going, "Oops, my bad." So then we're going to come up to the fun part. This is the part that Devin has been looking forward to. Pepper spray. What's that?
I said I've actually seen it used in a class.
Yeah,
With a professional.
of the self-defense items offered, it is probably the one that will add the most safety to you. This is how far away her pepper spray, the pepper spray in example in defense, will go.
16 feet.
They have them that will go farther than this. You can put this much distance between you and your attacker. And like I was just talking about the lethal weapons, if you accidentally spray somebody in the face because they were trying to give you your keys,
oops, you're bad. And in 4 hours, they're still crying, but they're able to see again.
They're also going to be orange
I
for,
was just gonna say a color, I do it too.
they're going to be orange for several days and UV reactive for, yeah, so you shine the police officer black light on them, and then they're all blue.
And my wife was kind enough to bring sample pepper spray so that we can, that us guys can get sprayed with, except that it was water.
Yeah,
They're not.
Today, we're here. Demo. So
If anybody would like to spray one of us with water.
if you would like to, if you would like to see what it feels like to switch and hit somebody, you're welcome to. If you'd rather not, that's what we do. But who's going to try over there? It's a fingerless glove. So if you're a walker, or if you ride a bike, or pushing a stroller, or a jogger, with our little hand, fingerless glove. You don't have to hold on to it, it's just right there. And then there's towels. You go, click.
Even though that's my chest, it would still.
What is that, oh, you're wearing it?
This is our hot little hand, it's a fingerless glove.
Okay.
And I just realized this is one that I use all summer at, 13 Nights on the River.
That's very cool.
All right, we pulled that one off. Good thing I brought a refill. We recommend replacing your pepper spray every year, because just like the spices in your cupboard, pepper spray will lose its effectiveness over time. At 13 Nights on the River this summer, a gal came up to me and said, oh, I have pepper spray. I have to tell how long she's had it. And it's just water.
It's just water.
But, I actually walked her out, gave her a candy or pepper spray, and she gave me a whole bunch of things fell off. And there was a little bit of residue, like the lid just popped right off. And I accidentally got it in my eye. And nothing? I mean, I put water for it, but, yeah. Oh, sorry. Take the fresh one. Yeah, that's awesome. It's all, so you can accidentally switch it. And then you flip it and you press. There you go. Aim and spray. Yeah.
There you go.
This one's right?
Yeah, they're all the same.
That's right-handed.
Well, but you can also make it left-handed. Look at this. You can? Yeah. Yeah, you go pop.
Aha!
And then we'll see, rotate the canister around to the preferred position. And then it's left-handed.
It's not exactly the same canister.
Yeah, how does that work? Oh, it is the exact same.
Oh, you're trying to leave it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The same way it does on people, if you get it in the face, it's gonna set them back. If you don't hit them right in the face though, it's not as effective. I had a friend, one of my dental teammates actually was walking her dog, and she came across her neighbor who had been out doing the morning jog and had been attacked by the neighbor dogs who gotten out, and she drained 3 or 4 canisters of pepper, because she's a damsel and fully loaded all the time. But yeah, she drained several canisters of pepper spray, but because, you know, dogs are fighting and back and forth, it took a lot to, you know, to actually hit the moving target of little tiny, you know, dog faces.
So if somebody is coming at you, how many sprays are in there if you're really bad?
If you're, honestly, your best bet, you know, if you're in a situation, is to press that button and just keep pressing. Drain the sucker dry. You have several,
Does Samsung still replace them if they're?
yes, all of our products, if you discharge your pepper spray, in a self-defense situation, send a copy of the police report to the county, they'll replace it for free. They're instantly replace, yep. If you say, this is our most popular stun gun, we get it good. If one of these prongs, they were to get caught on your attacker's shirt or something, and, you know, you're zapping the living daylights out of them, and then you run away and it pulls out prongs, send the police report, they'll replace it. Most companies want you to use their product, Dan will praise that you never have to, but if you do have to, we want to make it easy. We want to make it, we want to keep you safe. But yeah, pepper spray, just press and hold and just keep holding until you bring it. And then, like Sean said earlier in his presentation, you know, they spray and get away. You know, don't stick around.
Stun and somebody mad,
Yeah, stun and run. And I actually have a video that I can put on a little bit later that shows the husbands of our founders. Oh, thank you, Chris and Jimmy. They took pepper spray to the face. Oh, wow. For training purposes, just to show us, and it's beautiful. And I high-fived, when I was at the conference, I high-fived them and thanked them because.
They're real things.
Yeah, I don't understand how it works, but I know it is.
Okay.
But I don't expect you to do it. But you got the clicking part that's scary. And I thought you had a flash tech.
So the sun, it's all of that. So the sound that you're hearing, when you actually use a stun gun, you won't hear any sound because all of that electricity that's making a noise now gets channeled. You squish it into the body of the person who is attacking you.
Or you punch them.
Yeah.
And then what do? You have a different button? They come with the same button, and then it goes.
All right, so you flip up the switch once, and that's a flashlight.
Yeah.
You flip it up again, and that red light comes on,
Yeah.
and then you press it. You squish it into that, and you press that one.
Oh, so when you do it, okay, so the same button that you hit to make the noise,
Yeah, that's
it's the same thing, just like not touching it.
just like pulling a trigger on a gun, you know, firing a warning shot into the air.
Okay.
Versus firing a warning, firing it into.
So it's, you're doing the same thing, you're
Yeah,
just like practicing
and,
somebody, okay.
and then they go, ah!
And then a stun gun is not to be confused with,
A taser
yeah,
shoots,
thank you.
a taser shoots projectiles, and that's why a lot of police departments hate them, because the little projectiles have to actually get into the suspect and stick and stay and.
I've heard a number of tales of people with the projectile tasers where one of them hits and the other one falls aside. So
You need a break, you need both.
you need both.
Kind of like a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The,
The contacts are close together, and so they're both going to meet your.
Right, it should be closer to the, yeah.
coming back to the question about lethal weapons, one of the things that police departments don't like people like me telling you about the stun guns and tasers is those go right through a bulletproof vest.
Oh.
So if you think you may find yourself in a self-defense situation with somebody who has a bulletproof vest, if, for example, your abusive boyfriend has cop buddies, a stun gun may actually be a good choice for you because they won't expect it. And it will go right through that bulletproof vest.
Like if you're down, in Portland rioting, like, and there's police. Okay.
I do not promote rioting.
No, I'm just saying.
But you're not wrong.
Yeah.
What? Did you want to say? Wrap it up left hand.
Yeah.
And then you just, yeah, center, yeah, just flip that through the middle. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, shoot these guys. Good point. Then dump it empty.
Did I have to maneuver it right?
And then switch it hard. There you go.
Okay.
There you go, you did it.
I guess part of my concern is the relationship
want to show you.
No.
The pepper spray will have this top, and you have to physically move it, and you have to physically squish it out to make it like not gonna go all the way. Even our my core pouch is 2 years old. I like it, and so it makes sure that I'm not going to accidentally avoid, right, even if it's bumping around in my pocket and squiggly things, it's not a big nerve. Also, hey, walking home with my dog. And what's one of the things that I love about it? Well, also, I don't have it right now, but we have a dog park. Okay. I mean, I'm in addition to the flashlight, we also have an alarm. So, you get attention from you and your, and a lot of times, like, you know, they're actually looking for the proper, yeah. You're making a lot of money, it's not like an alarm going off. You bring attention, I don't really want oh, because we have those too. And like the doctor said, that we also talk about alarms that are well into the
there's going to be that calculus that goes on when you continue to get
pretty much anybody when they're not fully charged
or practically without remember there's no
a lot of money figure out grab the gun show or out of the order place. Oh, our standards are 1 million volts. Under 2 million Everybody wants to know.
Another group that I worked on, I don't know well. The whole of the story. Another guy, and 3 or 4 times in a row, he grabbed me, and I didn't know what to
We've done on sale. I've tried to sit down, I've gone down there.
yeah, I went down to the top.
Okay.
I won.
Yeah, we have to,
Right.
$50 for me, I haven't worked on it.
Yeah,
you find yourself in a place where you need to hold on to it, you gotta move, oh, look at that. I still got away, and now I have to wait, I push it away. And then, you're gonna come back to you again, and you see this, messed up person, you go, I'm not getting hit. I'm not getting hit, I'm going to God.
If you're in Washington, they're just there.
I mean, okay.
I've mixed, but everything else, okay? And if you're in Washington, if you are forced to have your
You've got to put that weight on them so that you can use that circle and get away. And you do it, and you've done it. And hopefully, your attacker goes, I'm not after putting into this. You may come on down again, you may go, she's an older woman, I can try one more.
Yeah, right.
And then on the third time, you're going to be going, I'll give it one more shot. Man, that hurt. And then, you know, again, rules apply. There are actually going to be perpetrators who come and have more prepared, but there's not much I can do to protect them from them.
Right. No, I, you know, that's, yeah, it's probably.
Most of the perpetrators are going to,
Part about,
yeah. You don't have to do that. At some point, we're going to stop chasing.
you're going to get much closer.
You know, and they're only going to put so much effort into getting that one more time.
Because in our country, there's why they take out the and this is
You are a huge figure.
can't remember to make them circles because some of the.
There are a lot of things you can't do from the ground.
That's like a different, every one of those, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of where my feet are, I'm thinking of where my head is, but I mean, once I'm down, that's my biggest fear right there.
Yeah, and that would be my best advice. The first one to go down in the fight is usually the one that loses.
That's what I'm scared of, yeah.
And
If I get up there again, you know, it's like, you could get, you can get paralyzed, myself, you know,
but if you do fall down, hold the vertical supply, roll around, get up, and get away as quick as you can. Don't give up just because you fell down. You know, it's not over until it's over. But avoid falling in, because that is going to be one of the ones. There are, in fact, I have high speed Wednesday night, great. Yeah, 7 to 8, I'm doing here. Wednesday night, 7 to 8, I'm doing high speed for free. I bring the content, I have 20 years experience under qualified instructors, so in Kung Fu, Shaolin, and Dynamics Kung Fu. I have 6 months under a qualified instructor teaching Tai Chi. It's actually with me, and then later you're teaching Tai Chi with somebody who's done it for more time, and they tell you I did something wrong. I do it for that reason, I'm not sure what. 7 days.
So, I mean, I know they don't more or I'll take it, you have it on YouTube too.
I have.
I mean, there's one time.
Yeah, I'm putting it on next lesson.
I am really the way you did it or not.
That's the goal.
No, but, you know, I really love it that much. What's your current?
Yes.
My problem is my core. Even though I try to avoid stomach, when it hits down, it's so awesome.
Yeah, I love what you're doing for your balance.
And it's beautiful.
It is, I know the self-specific version,
If something goes wrong, you get something weird.
I do titanium, share what.
Oh my God. We all have to get somewhere, that's.
If there's something bizarre, you can take it off or join the shit and get them.
And then the teachers.
So you get them all today.
Yes.
Concentration.
And concentration are probably the two things that I'm most focused on.
And that's where probably
The self-study side of it, I can tell you what about capital, and every so often, somebody goes, well, what did I do? It's like, shit. I've been doing it in Paris, I've been doing it for 2 weeks now. And I had a family, this last week, both weeks, I given them long days of
No, what? You're teaching her.
and I look at afterwards and I go, yeah. But then I correct them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like, that's my biggest thing. I do this, but when is it people like that? And so, you know, you have a body, they can do certain things. Sometimes they don't have a body, they said, but I was for that. It's all going to bring up my Bible card. Because I enjoy it.
I don't come in here and talk here for about 20 years. When I started, we were in right down there. And then moving from there up to all our people are, from there we went to the pool. And we shared space with the office until they shut down. From there we moved out to the city. When I had my first child, so 11 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry about the time, I was turning into swine. He had some family problems and had to move away. And the one that was still coming off and on was like beach. He said, hey, you want to come through school? It's not making money. And it's kind of a burden, but hey, it didn't go very well. I learned my telling skills from him. I'm a great teacher. And so I talked to my wife, being a horrible husband, she said, and so the first year I was in the I love it. I went from working with jobs to working at a paper mill. Once I was working with a shift, I couldn't always get my students to operate it. I wanted to do it myself. When the paper mill shut down, I got laid off, I had a package, and went down to California. I wanted to find out how good it was, if I actually was going to the beach. The question was, the grammar, but I did not know, you have to pass me on skill, not on fundamental knowledge. But he said,
people that might be interested.
Everybody's
Everybody's right.
It was actually.
And all the other stuff, there's a lot of other, and all the reasons, that's our road.
There's no standardization of budgets. There are even schools that
I have schools that are.
they started out with black more common starting with white but there are schools that go all the way. There's some schools that are highest as a restaurant for our school. I learned about.
But you're
Before you're black.
off the side of the road, we, your friend,
There's no standardization.
take out your car.
My brother.
What is that called?
This is a road trip, it's honestly people, last breaker dead, and smoke cutter, and all kinds of good things.
He said they have 15
degrees of black.
Um,
The school that I grew up in, they have 10 theoretical degrees of black belt. 10 would be if you were perfect, 10th degree black belt, if you were perfect, you never made a mistake. The grandmaster, who was in charge of the site, was the regional order, decided to keep with it. So, you can see that I'm not it's just after that, it's about 3.
For one thing, our spring home, so around time, we'll have it.
Not only that, but
You A, make sure that you get a fresh pepper spray. I can't guarantee.
all of them have their own system. There's a contour system. We're looking at
Sorry, a lot of
that. There is the
Let me go.
And those are only, those are the things that I.
So it has a motion sensor, so it's very, so yeah, so think about here, and we're like walking along your window, and somebody tries to open your window, and come home.
I will, because you know what, I've got a couple classes, not
Picture it.
enrolled, because
Like every day, it's all about like, and so you got a bunch of your door. Well, the version didn't have a light, and I went on vacation for my birthday, and I put it in the hotel door, and he went out at midnight. But the light lets you know it's there. So he would have then seen it and remember that it's there, spaced it out, and then he set it up. So the light is, yeah, it's not like for the whole house. That's for you. Okay. That's for you. Or, you know, and you've got it set to your window.
I do, a little bit.
well, you know, when you want to handle it.
Yeah, I was a little bit over, because it's summer, so, yeah, you sit down, and it gets a little further, it goes off. And it handles it, and it really works, and it keeps yelling at it.
Okay, so what is very different, very different, very different. And your kids, how many?
11 and 4.
Oh.
Rock me and trouble.
All right. One last thing, some people are looking like they might leave. Upcoming events of the St. Helens Kung Fu Club, because I'm a horrible salesman, as I told some of you. Next Saturday, I'm going to do this exact same class again.
Okay, we got it.
You are welcome to come again. You won't learn more.
That's okay.
You'll have another opportunity to practice if you want. But there's not going to be different information presented. It's going to be it's going to be very close to the same. And I do a little bit of off the cuff, as you saw, and so there's going to be different jokes and whatnot. But the information will be the same. My birthday is November 23rd. November 25th is Black Friday, and I'm not going shopping. I will be here having a sword fight, because I have always wanted to have a sword fight for my birthday. And this is my midlife crisis. I can have a sword fight.
Oh, no, it's from there on out. Don't think that you've gone through it.
Yep. The way the sword fight will work, you'll put in $1 either to sword fight if you want to sword fight, or if you watch other people's sword fight if you want to watch other people's sword fight. The money is going to go to Turning Head and Tom Clayton. They've been battling France and battling and I the family of the one of the two whatever. Or somebody can donate to your people. That's true. Get your rich friends and never great party. That's funny. Give them some money. Yeah. And I would love, right now, money to send to Disneyland. I know you have money to buy some coffee. But the money will go to that, right? So, yes, she was a child teacher. I've heard fantastic things about it. Yeah. And then on the 29th, the last Tuesday of the month, at Burgerville, we're going to be hosting a community night. Everybody is invited to come and food. It's not like a cafeteria. And 10% of the proceeds are going to go to the community action. On behalf of the people. I've been teaching for years. No, not at all. Okay. They're there. I have classes Monday on Friday. From 4 to 5, 5 to 10. I do lyrics at 8 to 8. I do
It's a lot.
and it's adults.
So if you're in
On Wednesday, however, 8 to 8. Friday is the Friday, so you want your thousand pick and
and somebody picks up a pepper spray, and
yes, every Friday.
somebody wants to come back to the
Tuition is I allow a parent to attend over 3 with their child if I want.
everybody to know that,
I let the family
and, it's got contact here, and it's got one pastor here, so when you bring it to Travis, But
this
the
is
thing
Friday,
is,
we'll be back.
I like, I'm not, I just never.
The shirt and the shoes and dark color, preferably black, pants, to make movements, like cameras, and like, and some martial arts pants if you want. I recommend something from Walmart, I don't wear eyewear, I got Walmart for $10. And I'll have to order them, because I don't need them under, the shirts and the shoes and socks.
Does he not know?
That's wrong with it, he was just trying to figure out.
Schedules and stuff.
This is on the website, Sean was getting.
Yes, so
It's on the link on the door.
yeah, I'm just going to the word.
I think what you can end up like, anywhere here. You want to eat this. Why do you look like that? I mean, what, like that, you got the road that's slow, so I'm just the way I.
Oh,
I just.
Yeah, if you want to wear tighter leggings, I have to say, go transparent. I have had a problem in the past.
So,
Not here, but at other places. Yes, for this class, for the self-defense class, at one point I had somebody after the previous one that I had, what should I wear? I said, wear whatever you wear.
if I had not.
That's in the skirt.
If I had.
Don't worry, we're not doing
Great
anything.
pepper spray.
But I want you to check there, or we learn most likely to be attacked, and, you know, unfortunately, that's likely, but it's not actually most likely, it's most likely is.
You know, just the grandson were not more cheese and so came in the window
Most likely.
and grandpa shoots them.
First or second date.
Yeah, well, you know, especially, thank you very much. You think, what's the best thing you think that happened? That's my favorite part. I know, like, yeah, I don't know. They go in the car.
So in my car, this is what I have. This is our breakaway keychain. And I recommend everybody start doing breakaway. I was in the drive-through at Taco Bell getting a drink. I don't know what yeah, he's going, somebody bumped into my car. Because my car's open, so I gotta get my key. So, I'm not going to leave the drive-through and just all it and on camera. You go into a dark, parking lot, like I got damage. So, leave this in the car. Oh, I thought that right there.
Did that come with the lamp?
Used to go. It's a partial role, and then every month by the year, and walk around like your town, this is actually not the first time, so big, like we don't have to have they actually used to run that